87% of realtors get into the business and get out of the business in 2 years. That doesn't exist in our world.
We have massive visions around growing our businesses, and we are always looking to add talent to our world. We do everything in our power to ensure the people we surround ourselves with defy the odds, get into production, and build massive lives for themselves.
If you are a realtor looking to get into the business, we have a blueprint for success.
With locations all across Canada, reach out to us. Let's talk about partnership and opportunities. We are looking forward to it. Welcome back for another episode of Sales Beast. Today, we've got one of our friends and colleagues with us today, Cam Sullivan. Welcome, Cam. We're so excited to have you on.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, excited to chat.
Awesome. Cam, just to get started, tell our listeners who you are, where you're at, and a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so I am based out of Oakville, Ontario, born and raised in Burlington, Ontario, and then moved to Oakville about 10 years ago when I got married. I've been doing real estate sales now, mostly residential for, I think I'm almost done 7 years, which is pretty cool. And my kind of journey through real estate sales, I started on a team for a year and then went solo after that and was on my own for, I think, 4 years, and then started hiring administrative help after that to help with the admin side. And then just this past year, I've gotten into hiring agents as well to kind of grow the sales base and work on my own leadership and management and start succeeding through people. So yeah, I'm in Oakville here with my wife. We got 3 kids right now and 2 on the way. We got twins coming. So it's going to be a busy life pretty soon.
That's crazy. Is your wife working also, or
she's working at home? Yeah, she's working real hard at home.
Wow. Yeah. You guys can handle it.
Yeah, we're fortunate. Like she always wanted to be a mom. That was kind of her dream role. So when we had our first kid in 2016, she stayed home with them, and she's been home ever since, being the rock there. So it's like for me, I think it's the only way that makes all this manageable, I would say, is having someone take care of the home life, and then I can be out here working and helping people. So it's a good balance for us.
Amazing. So can we go back to when you originally got into the business 7 years ago? I know I was reading up on you beforehand. It looks like we went to the same school.
Oh yeah, Laurier?
Yeah, you went to Laurier. I went to Laurier too.
Yeah, nice.
What happened when you got into business? How did you find clients? What did your first year look like? Were you successful right away, or were there some growing pains involved in it?
Yeah, great question. So my path from Laurier to real estate was a longer one. So I went to Laurier for accounting, and I was in business, specializing in accounting, and did a couple of co-ops in public accounting firms. And I was like, oh man, this is terrible. This is brutal work. I realized that wasn't for me. Finished up the schooling, got the degree, and then went to work for a couple of years in like youth ministry, like pastoral work, which was very cool, doing a lot of mentorship and leadership. So did that for a while, and then said, okay, I'm going to put my business degree to use. And I got into private equity. So I worked for a firm that was analyzing purchases of companies. So they were looking at buying companies around the like $2, $3, $4 million mark, usually companies that are like owner operated. Somebody started a business and they grew it and they've been running it for 30 years. They don't have anybody to hand it off to. So they look to a private equity company to kind of take them out and sell it. So I did that for a couple of years and really enjoyed it, but just felt like it wasn't quite me either. Like the accounting wasn't me, that wasn't me. And I thought, real estate's a little bit in the middle. Like it's a little bit people, it's a little bit business. And I really like that. So my realtor actually that I had worked with recruited me into real estate and recruited me to Keller Williams. Shocker. So yeah.
Actually just had him on a couple episodes ago, John Van Keith.
Yeah, great guy. So he said, hey, you'd be amazing at real estate if you ever want to try it. And I wanted to try something new, so I gave it a shot. So I was on John's team. It was run by a guy, Ian McSporran, who's out of Burlington, who's been doing real estate a long time. Great guy. So I was there for a year. And then for your question. So my first year I was on the team and working real hard and seeing, in my mind, I was seeing mediocre success. I think reflecting back, and if you asked other people, I think I had really good success, but it wasn't quite what I pictured. So yeah, it was a lot of hard work, and I did well, not as well as I was hoping, but I did well in my first year. And that trend kind of continued, I would say, for the next couple of years. I always set big goals. And to be honest, I failed at reaching them for a long time. Until about last year, we finally feel like we broke through a little bit. So yeah, I came in, I worked real hard. It was the hardest I'd ever worked of all of my jobs, doing the youth ministry, doing the private equity. It was for sure the most that I've ever worked, and decent level of success out of the gate.
Amazing. What did that work look like? What were you doing on a
Yeah.
daily basis? How did you generate a client base?
So I was fortunate. I came right into Keller Williams. I had no bad habits or anything from other companies. And I just kind of lapped up everything that Keller Williams talks about for prospecting and, finding business and all that. So I started and I immediately touched base with everybody in my database, went through my phone and my Facebook list, doing the, hey, Mike, how you doing, man? I haven't chatted with you in a while. I'm into real estate now, really excited about it. Let me know if you know anybody chatting about the market. So had, hundreds of those conversations with people. Actually, not a lot came out of that initially when I went through the database. So I kind of ran out of people that I knew to talk to. So I was just so green and had heard, be prospecting based. So I just went and started knocking on doors and just figured, if I've run out of people I know, I'll go talk to people I don't know. So I just started knocking on doors and doing a terrible job of it. But, at least I was doing something, I was out there and making contacts. So I got into door knocking for a while. And again, I say I did it terribly. Like after learning how you should farm and door knock, I wish I could go back and do it again, but still had success even doing it not to the book. And then I still think in my first year, most of my success came through contacting my database, working with people I knew or referrals, open houses, just leaning hard into that in my first year, and then some door knocking success as well.
Amazing. And I think now pushing forward, tell us what your team looks like today and where your business is coming from. Give us the contract.
So today I'm doing most of the sales. We just brought Fran on. She got her license this year. So she's doing sales as well, focusing on the buyer side. I'm still doing buyers, but listings as well. And then Danielle is a full-time executive assistant. And then actually my wife with 3 kids and twins on the way is part-time doing like thank you cards and coordinating events and things like that for us. So so 2 salespeople, 1.5 admin people. And then, we would love to hire some more admin people, I think, as well, just to really solidify our admin hub. And then sales base. So now it's a lot of repeat referral. I think about 80% were repeat referral type business or just people from our database. Like maybe I haven't done a deal with them in the past, so they wouldn't be a repeat customer, but I know them directly. And then the rest of it is kind of a mix of, it's like the 80-20 rule, right? Like 80% comes from database repeat referral, and then 20% is a bit random sign calls, converting sign calls on our listing. And then people that I developed a relationship with through door knocking or cold calling, and just kept the relationship going. Some of those materialize now. So I would call those door knock or cold call sales because that's how the relationship started. But honestly, like I nurtured that relationship for 2-3 years sometimes. So I don't know if that counts as a cold call sale, but that's usually what I call it. So 80% from our database and then 20% from other sources. We're trying to get more into like online leads, just figuring, like I did a lot of cold calling, door knocking, cold prospecting, and thinking, okay, at least online leads have somewhat raised their hand saying they're interested in real estate rather than calling people that have zero interest. We're trying to get more into that as a pillar. And then social media as well, but that's, the people on your social media are usually your database. So I don't know how to classify that as like social media leads or like just database leads.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Sorry. We interrupt each other regularly. I was just wondering, I know when I was reading your bio, you had a big year recently. What kind of volume do you anticipate you guys to be doing this year?
Like sales volume, I think will be around 35 million or so, 35 to 40 million. Which I think is similar to last year. And then next year, like we did our business planning. We always do our business planning in September for the upcoming year because we know in real estate, the year usually starts October 1st. So we're shooting for, I don't know what the volume is. We did about 45 deals in the last 2 years. And then we want to go up to 75 in that range next year. So so it's a stretch, but it's something I'm excited about, trying to increase my own sales base and then try to launch agents as well to say, hey, how do we get you succeeding and doing, 10, 15, 25 deals yourself? And
the only reason I asked that, it's a conversation we have in our office all the time. Your start to real estate sounded very much like mine in the sense that it was a grind. The reward we expected, we didn't receive. You probably some days felt like quitting. I know I did. There's that 3 feet from gold story where if you had quit today, you wouldn't be doing the 35 million a year, which is huge. And I just think anyone new to the business needs to think about that all the time. It's a ton of work in the beginning, but it does get easier over time. And in the beginning, don't expect a lot of rewards. But in 7 years, you can be doing 35 million in volume, which is massive.
80% from the database. Like that's massive.
I'll totally agree with that. Like I won't lie, it was a grind for 5 years, 6 years. It was a hard grind. But the beauty thing about our industry is it's a grind, but you do really well still. Like you still can earn a great living. And then yeah, Anna, like you said, like the last 2 years have been so database repeat referral heavy that it's been fun. Like we're doing almost double what we ever had before, but it's great people that that you've got a relationship with, repeat client. Like my conversion ratio on listing appointments from my first couple of years, I would go on listing appointments and have a 50-50 shot, right? Because it was so many cold leads. And then I think I shot up to like 90%, right? Because you're working with people you know, or you just have more confidence in your skills, feeling like, okay, I know what I'm doing now. So it was honestly like last year was way busier, but way more fun. And this year too. Like it's been really, really fun. Where yeah, Mike, I thought about over those 5 years, probably, I don't know, once a quarter, you think about quitting, right? Like,
Yeah.
is this worth it? But in the last 2 years, it's been so fun. I've been like, oh, I wonder if I'm actually like in my niche now. Like, if I was ever in a position where I had passive income coming where I didn't have to work, I would probably just choose to keep doing what I'm doing because I really actually enjoy it.
That's amazing. I
On
think
that,
too, as you build out your team, it becomes so important that you have relationships that you've taken care of over the past few years. Now you have people that are going to call you and say, I want to list my house or I want to buy a house. Because as you build out the team and you have 10 one-on-ones a week and meeting after meeting after meeting, I know for me at least, I don't have the time to go bang on doors like I used to. I don't have
Yeah.
the time to cold call like I used to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Last year and this year, I think I used to try to keep in touch with about 1,100 people every quarter. So Keller Williams has this like quarterly calls philosophy, and I think I bought into it, and I think that's probably one of the things that led to more success that I've had than other agents that maybe started around the same time. So I kept in touch with people every quarter, and I was trying to do it with like 1,100 people, and it was a mix of people that I had cold called, door knocked, my own friends, family, etc. And I whittled it down to 700 for that exact reason, Mike. Like you just don't have the time, and you know that 80% of your results are really coming from 20% of your people. So focus on where results are coming from, and you'll still get 80% of the results out of it.
so you mentioned something just a few seconds ago about, even though like you build the team up big enough, you might want to still continue doing what you're doing on a day-to-day, but have you thought about, growing your team to the extent where you don't have to trade anymore? Is that something that you're kind of looking forward to, part of the vision?
Yeah, for sure. It was 2017. I think I had done 3 years when I really sat down to say, okay, what am I doing in this industry and what do I really want out of it? And I dreamt big, right? Like that's what we're taught to do. So dreamt really far down the road. Yeah, dreamt about a business where, yeah, I wasn't involved in trading at all. Started working towards it, and just honesty, like maybe this will encourage people, like felt like a failure, like was not making the progress toward that goal that I really wanted to. And so maybe it got in my head a little bit, and I got a little bit stuck thinking, why am I not getting there? And so I think I've changed my thinking in the last couple of years to say like, okay, you have a sense of what down the road looks like, but focus on the next step and just take the next step and do that and see if you like it. And then if you do, keep going. So I wouldn't say that I'm looking that far down the road these days. Like I'm like, okay, let's bring on an agent and train them up and see if I can succeed through somebody. And if I like how that's working, great. Take the next step of bringing on another agent and then another admin person after that, and just keep going from there and kind of build it step by step. I know for me, like I can get, analysis paralysis. Like you try to think too far down the road and you don't take a step. So just focusing on like, don't worry about what it has to look like in 20 years when, you're just managing it all. Just think about the next step and take that. And if it works, great, do the next one after that.
I think that's such a good point. I have trouble myself, like planning a long-term vision, but if I have a vision from others or those around me, like I'm way more likely to like want to tie on to that versus like creating my own. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, focusing on the now is also super important. So that's a good point.
Such a tough balance, though, I find. So
yeah,
we're constantly setting these goals for a year down the road, 2 years, 5 years down the road. And I think if that's all you focus on, I know for me at times it makes me feel dissatisfied with what I'm doing in the moment because I haven't achieved what I want to achieve in the future.
Yeah.
There's so much to be said, trying your best to enjoy what you're doing right now. Sometimes we wake up and we don't feel like we maybe want to do what we're doing, but I can look back to where I was before and honestly say, compared to what I was doing before, this is a gift. to be able to do
Yeah.
this every single day.
Yeah, for sure. I think I've heard people talk about like, track your progress, like look at where you've come from, like you're saying, Mike. Like don't get stuck on, don't get stuck in the future. I want to be there and I'm not there. Think about more like, well, look how far you've come and look at everything that you've done. And that keeps you motivated more than feeling like, well, why am I not where I want to be? So I guess that's more of what we're doing these days. And there's a general sense of like, hey, that would be great to get there someday. I don't have, like, I know you guys had Dylan on here. Probably everybody listening knows Dylan. Like, I don't have that crystal clear, dogged determination vision that he does that, I'm going to get to this spot, but I'm okay with that, to be honest. And I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm not going to be complacent. I'm going to keep growing and keep pushing myself, but I don't know exactly what it's going to look like in the end, but to me, that's okay.
That's what's cool about not only like real estate, but KW. You have like a playground in front of you, like an entrepreneurial playground to do whatever it is that you choose to do and whatever path you want to follow. And it's just up to you to create it.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, obviously being, faithful, business, family man, you can get overwhelmed and there can be a lot coming on like at you and stuff that you have to focus on. So what do you do? Like, what kind of habits do you have to kind of keep yourself both accountable and on task for both, making sure you're supporting your family, but also supporting your team and your business?
Yeah, good question. So like I said, we did our like annual planning for our team. I also, as part of that, chatted with my wife about like, okay, what do we want this year to look like for our family? What would, if we fast forward a year and we look back, what are we going to have done that's going to make us feel like, okay, that was a great year for our family? It is interesting. I had certain thoughts and she had separate ones. And when we compared them, they were actually pretty similar. So that was nice. Yeah. So just setting, and then get it all on. I was just saying to Danielle, like, I love days where, you've got your calendar planned out and you just come in and bang it out really. Like, okay, I'm doing this now, finish that. Okay, on to the next thing. Today was not that day. Today was okay, I got to do all these other things and I got to shuffle things around. But just having it like, okay, let's plan it. Let's get it on the calendar. We're working at getting better at things like 411s, like our goal setting and tracking and stuff like that. But to me, getting it on your calendar, that's the thing that really makes a difference. So if it's going to be date night, okay, when are we doing that? Put it down because that's what's going to make it happen. If it's work-wise, if it's prospecting, okay, when are you doing it? What are you doing? So like, for example, for my prospecting in the mornings, it says, get referral A and W. So in the morning, I know I'm calling my database people with the last name A and then the last name W. And my purpose is to get referrals. That's why I'm making these calls. So I get really specific with what I'm putting on there. What's the goal that I'm trying to achieve? When am I doing it? And then just knowing if it's there, it's important, and do the whole like erase and replace thing. Like if I have to juggle it around, it's not gone, then I'm going to move it somewhere else and do it at another time. Yeah. So mainly calendar and planning are the big things I find to make sure you can get it all done. And then I'm going through with a group I'm a part of right now. We're reading a book called The Master of One by Jordan Rayner. It's just talking about becoming a master of your craft and not being a jack of all trades, but being, a master of one thing. And in there, the book's challenged me to say, what are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? Figure out in your life what's essential and what's not, and then get good at saying no, right? Don't try to take on too much, which I have right now. And I will use my twins coming in the new year as an excuse to get rid of commitments that I've taken on and just kind of pare it down to what's really important in my life and get those things done and don't worry about the rest.
And if you, in your business now, if you could name a few things that are essential that you will not be saying no to, what would they be?
In business specifically?
In your business.
Yeah, for me, like I touched on it before, I think contacting your database quarterly, for me, that's essential. And really, like you could just call it being in people's lives, developing relationships, like that's huge. And I'm a systematic kind of process person. So just having that, like, okay, just contact everybody quarterly. That's a good way for me to do it. And people that would join my team, I would say that would be, kind of a big rock expectation of our team. Like if you want to be here, this is what I expect. I know other people, like the guy that recruited me into real estate, John, he does a ton of it through social media and stuff like that. Like I don't think he's really reaching out as much as I am. Not that he doesn't care. It's just not his style. So I would say, look, if you're going to join here, this is what our team does. This is how we do it. So that would be big. That would be essential. That's the main thing. Like to me, that's where your business comes from. When I hire people, like we talk about, like, doing what you say you're going to do, being accountable. I love those types of things. Like I said, we're trying to get better at 411s and stuff like that. Like I find those tools really helpful to just guide what you're supposed to be doing and prioritizing. So from a business perspective, that's what comes to mind.
You mentioned like putting on events for your database too. Could you share what those look like? Because I've seen you do some events and like promoting them on social media, and I think they're pretty neat.
So for me, events is A, they're fun, but B, they're a great reason to call people. So calling people quarterly, it's not something we probably do in our lives naturally. So when I started in real estate, it felt awkward. Started doing events, it was just easier to say like, hey, Anna, how are you? How you doing? How's the family? We're doing an event in January. Hope you can come out. It's going to be fantastic. And hey, well, I got you. Who have you heard of lately chatting about making a move? It just made that conversation more natural and a lot more fun. So yeah, so we've leaned into events. So we try to do 3 to 4 a year. The past couple of years, we've done like a movie morning event in January, February. We're thinking, it's cold. People are looking for something to do in the winter. So we've rented a couple theaters and just invited people out for a movie. We usually get 2 theaters and do like one movie focused on people with families and kids, and then one movie for adults. So that's a lot of fun. We usually get about 100 people out for that. And then we do in spring, summertime, we do like a patio event. So invite people out for food and drink. We've done it at a restaurant in Burlington, Game Time Social, the last couple of years, which has been really fun. Yeah, we did it this year and again had about 100 people, and it had a great feel to it. Like it's got a big arcade for kids to play. It's got a big patio. It's got actually like bowling and axe throwing and everything. So kind of something for everybody. So it was really fun just to see people there, eating and drinking and laughing and having fun. So I really enjoyed that. In the past, we've done like Blue Jays game for client that did a deal or referred a deal that year. And then we've done smaller things as well, like pumpkin giveaways at Thanksgiving or pie giveaways as well. And we did like a family portrait session. So we're usually the like movie morning and the patio event are kind of like staples, and then we'll rotate smaller events around just as we think of different ideas or what we think might be fun for people.
How impactful do you think those events were this year, especially through COVID and like not really being able to be in person for the past year and a half-ish?
Yeah, again, I think, you never know with these things, but I think when the pandemic hit, we just kind of leaned into it and leaned into people's lives. And I think that was, again, something that really helped us kind of take off last year and this year. So, for example, we did the movie morning event this year, even though theaters and everything were closed. Modified it. We said, hey, swing by the office and we've got a gift package for you. It's got a gift card in it that you can rent a movie online on Cineplex. It's got popcorn and candy and a bottle of wine for mom and dad. And people were super appreciative. So I think that's really good. And when we did the patio events, we kind of got a 50-50 response. Half the people said, I'm not ready for something like that. And no worries, that's fine. And then half the people said, oh, yeah, something to do. Like, this is awesome. So yeah, personally, I think it was a great response, and I think people really had fun and appreciate it. So it's definitely something we'll keep doing.
And yeah, that seems to be a trend across a lot of people we have on this podcast. It seems to be a lot about the database and not just talking to your people, but pouring into them. When you started taking part in these events and giving back to your community of clients, did you notice an increase in your business, or is it something that took a little while to happen?
No, I definitely did. Yeah. Like you usually get at any event, you'll get, I find 5 people coming up to you to say, hey, I talked to so-and-so about you. They're thinking about moving. So there's always like a direct benefit from the event, I would say. And then I don't know if you can measure like the indirect benefit, like how many more sales you do because you do them or don't do them. I just think I said it before, the real secret sauce of it is it gives you a reason to contact people offering something of value. So, if you're struggling to reach out to your friends and family and say, hey, who have you heard of lately thinking about moving? Then I think running events is a great way to do it. And to go a little deeper on that, like I think doing that is really important. I learned that lesson. A buddy of mine that I would see every week, when I was starting real estate, he knew I was in real estate, knew I was looking for clients, but I had to call him and be like, hey man, like, have you heard of anyone lately thinking about moving? He was like, oh yeah, I talked to this guy last night that was thinking about it. So like I realized then, like, there's a disconnect in people's brains. Like they know me, they like me, they know I'm in real estate, and then they have this conversation over here, but there's no connection there. So you got to make that for people. So that was big for me, and one of the reasons that I just leaned into talking to people quarterly and doing these events to have a reason to talk to people.
For sure. I think for a lot of people, I noticed the same thing with my family and friends. I think for some people that have never worked in sales before, they don't truly understand how me sending a referral to Cam could benefit Cam, or maybe they think Cam is too busy to service it because we see him on social media and he's super successful.
Yeah.
Sometimes all it takes is one phone call to let them know that we're open for business. We appreciate business. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't talk to people and ask them core business, it's rare that the phone rings.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
What?
And people, like, when I first did it, you got all kinds of responses. You got like, yeah, for sure, we'd love to support, give us a call anytime. I got, you know what, we'd love to support, but I don't really want you to call me and ask me about referrals. And I got like, oh, honestly, like my brother's a realtor, my uncle, my cousin, blah, blah, blah. So like, I would love to support you, but I just can't. So you just kind of say like, all right, no worries. Like, take people wherever they're at and treat them how they want to be treated. And it works out.
Sure.
And okay, so we're gonna move towards a couple questions here around like things that you listen to, or like, I guess one thing in being a leader and like starting a business, you have to also like feed yourself and feed your mind to make sure that you can then go lead other people. So what kind of podcasts? I know you listen to a few podcasts. What kind of books do you like, or do you listen to, or do you have any recommendations that you can shout out to our listeners?
Yeah, for sure. I was listening to a podcast for a long time called the EntreLeadership Podcast. It was by John Maxwell's group. So that's really good. Just on like a personal level, like I like fitness and CrossFit and stuff like that. So I listen to that kind of stuff. Which is, again, it's just like a positive, it's similar to KW, like a positive, awesome community. Books, yeah, like I have an interest in being like a good leader, and yeah, that's the simplest way to say it, like a good leader. So I'm usually reading books about that. So I mentioned the Jordan Rayner one, Master of One. Classic books I've read are like Good to Great, which have been really good. And then I want to do more. We were chatting, I can't remember if the recording was started, but we were just chatting about a couple courses to take to develop like leadership and coaching skills. I just see it as like, if those are skills that I can really develop and master, if you can really lead and succeed through people, then you can pretty much guarantee success, I think, wherever you're going and whatever you're doing. So if I stay in real estate, I think they're great skills to have. If I move on someday, to whatever, if you can bring, hey, leadership, people development, those types of skills, I think they're huge wherever. So I'm looking at a course called IPEC, IPEC, which is out of the States, and we talked about one that MAPS is running as well. So I want to check those out.
What's IPEC about?
It's a coaching program. Like
Okay.
It's like, yeah, to get like certified as a coach. I don't know if I would become like a coach, but they have an introductory program, which I was looking at, which looks pretty cool, which I think will just help me. The skills that I'll learn will help me as I look to lead people and help them pursue their goals and their dreams.
Yeah, you're massive on learning. We were talking earlier. I've never been to a bowl where you haven't been there, which is awesome. You pour into yourself at a very high level. After going through the process of being a realtor and learning all that you have over the last 7 years, if you could go back and speak to Cam 7 years ago, what piece of advice would you give him?
Touched on it earlier. Like I would say, I would go back and learn more. I started door knocking, so I would say, learn an effective way to do it. And I'd probably still be doing it today, because what happened was, like always happens, is you start doing it, you're doing it, semi-effectively, you see semi-effective result, and then you get busy with other stuff and you drop it, right? But if I had like mastered that in the beginning and saw great results in the beginning, I could be the number one agent in that neighborhood, dominating that area. So that's something I wish, like, if I had learned that and stuck with it. And it doesn't have to be door knocking, but just kind of whatever you're doing, like learn the principles and then stick with it. I say to a lot of agents, especially new agents, like you can be successful in real estate doing any number of things. Like you can be successful door knocking, cold calling, on web leads, networking, working your database, events. Like there's a million things you can do, and you can be successful doing any of them. Here's another thing. I would wish I could say to myself, and I was just talking to somebody about this today, intentionally develop your network. Don't just kind of accept who's in your sphere, but go and meet people that you want to learn from. Go and meet people that are going to be beneficial to you in your business and your career. Because I think I'm going to teach a class someday and tell people, look, success in real estate is simple. It's just how many people are you talking to? What are you saying to those people? And what are the quality of those people? Meaning like the quality, meaning like, hey, if you're talking to 100 investors that want to buy 5 properties a year, boom, you just made 500 deals a year. But if you're talking to 100 people that can't afford to buy anything, then you just made 0 deals a year. I would say intentionally develop your sphere so that it benefits your business and benefits you, which sounds selfish, but if you're providing great service that people need, then it's not. So that would be another thing I would tell myself. Those are the 2 that jump to mind. I can let you know if anything else comes up.
It's amazing. Talk to the same number of people, but based on the quality of the person, your results could be 0 or 500.
Yeah, totally.
I've never thought about that before.
Yeah, I honestly just think it's math. It's okay, how many people are you going to talk to? And then what are you saying to them, which comes into like your skills and your scripts. If it's just, hey, you want to buy? No? Okay, see it. Like that's not high level skill. If you've got a lot of tools in your tool belt about how to help people buy or sell, if you bring a lot of value, then you're going to up your percentage. Multiply how many people you're talking to times the effectiveness, I guess, of what you're saying, times the quality of those people. And that's going to be, I can tell you right now how many deals you're going to do.
And I think we're going to start wrapping things up. But before we let you go, Cam, we always ask our guests one question. And it's always, who do you know that we should have on this podcast?
Oh, great question. Have you guys had Loeffler on the podcast? Who comes to mind? Jeff Ham. Like businesses that I admire would be guys like Jeff Ham in Mississauga, Matt Regan in Mississauga as well. Really like those guys. I'm trying to think of other people that I've like done deals with recently that I've really appreciated. Sarah Logue out of Remax. Have you guys had her on?
Not yet. That's a great suggestion. She's awesome.
So when I was looking at getting back into farming, again, I'm an accountant by trade. I did the numbers on every neighborhood. I got real nerdy, real deep into these numbers. Did the numbers on every neighborhood in Burlington and Oakville to see like, is anybody dominating any neighborhood? And Sarah Logue is the only one in all of Burlington, Oakville, where I trade mostly. She had like a 34% market share or something. Everybody else was like, the max was like 9% or something like that. So I had coffee with her and chatted with her because it's amazing. Like, how did you pull that off when nobody else, and there's big agents that do huge deals in these big teams that do huge numbers of deals in these areas, but nobody's dominating, but she figured out how to do it. So that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to reach out to her. I actually have her contact info, so that's perfect. Awesome. Well, Cam, anything else that you'd like to leave our listeners with or any last thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I think, like I said, I encourage people, like anyone can succeed in this business, it's an amazing business to be in because literally anyone can succeed and you can have massive success and you can do it anyway. Like it's a wonderful business that allows you to be you and to live your life. I'm not saying it's easy, it's quite difficult.
But my bold cup right here, Life by Design.
Exactly. So you can be yourself. You can work real hard in a way that you enjoy, working with people that you like, and you can have great success, and anybody can do it. So that would be an encouragement I would leave. Like if people are thinking about getting into it or struggling or whatever, you can do it and it can be really great.
Awesome. Thanks so much for hopping on today.
Yeah, anytime, guys.